Hey, welcome to Leaving CrazyTown with Finn and Sarah. She's laughing already. We're going to talk about what?
We're going to talk about the phrase, I hate the holidays, and how that's not necessarily a helpful thing to keep repeating to yourself.
Especially because the holidays, at least this span of holidays we're talking about, include November, December, and the beginning of January. That's a lot of life to hate.
Yes. And it also can be a mantra to create worse holidays. So we don't want to keep repeating something that really isn't helpful to us. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at, why do we have those feelings? Why do people have those feelings? And how maybe creating a new attitude might be more helpful to actually finding some joy around the holidays.
And we'll talk about how to create that new attitude.
Yes. All right. So at first, what we're going to do is look at what are the reasons that people end up saying, I hate the holidays? Finn, give me a reason.
Well, why I said I hate the holidays, and I did that for years, people. As soon as the holidays rolled around, I was miserable. And I did that because, well, my holidays as a child were wrought with people being drunk, fighting, expectations that never got met, and, a lot of misery.
Yes.
Like you have this build up by social, like the social atmosphere, TV or whatever. It was more not social media when I was a kid, but all the advertisements and everything is like the time of year where we're all going to suddenly become this loving family and sit around the hearth and, whatever. And that wasn't the case for me. So, but you still can't help but kind of get caught up in it, right?
Yes,
People are singing and merry, and then you go home and it's like, somebody's drunk. And one year I came to my mom's for Christmas, and I was living in a foster home at the time, and my sister was at my mom's. I was meeting her there, and this guy picked me up, and he had a bottle of Cutty Sark in his truck, and he said, "Hey, you Finn?" I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Oh, I'm your new stepfather." All right. So it's Christmas morning. I'm meeting my new stepfather, who proceeds to drive me around to all meet his relatives, as his stepson, and I never seen him before. I didn't know who he was. I could have been being kidnapped. And then, he drives me to my mom's house. And this is how the day started.
This is how the day began.
My mom, dropped something. My mom was upset because she cooked a roast and she couldn't tell if the roast was done. And all of a sudden, I hear her screaming at her husband, "I usually get the roast at Stop and Shop, and you made me get it at the butcher shop, and now I don't know how long to cook it." And before you know it, I turn around and the roast is flying through the living room, smacks into the slider. My sister made a comment about the peas. My mother's husband called her an ungrateful biatch. She ran upstairs to get her hockey sticks, took out all the stuff. I mean, it was literally, that's how my holidays went. It ended with me pushing my sister's head into the floor and then leaving.
Okay, let me just stop you right there. So, bottom line is,
it was a lot of fun.
Finn has huge reasons why to hate the holidays. And he's changed it. So, listen, people, nobody has an excuse now, okay?
I love the holidays.
All right, so that's number one. The number one reason people hate the holidays is this trauma from childhood, memories from childhood around being in a drunk house. Okay, so that's one thing.
Or having a wonderful Christmas, right? And then losing it. A parent dies, a child dies.
Right.
So now you're in grief over.
Yeah, number two is grief. That was going to be one of mine, where the holidays you start getting towards the holidays, and you hear this a lot at meetings and from friends. Oh my God, I'm thinking about my mother dying. I'm thinking about my father dying. This is when, I think about my son who's no longer here. So
that's basically like memories.
Yeah, exactly. So it brings up things, grief around people that aren't here anymore. Absolutely. So that's one reason. So we don't want to have those feelings. Go ahead.
Another one, overcommitment. So codependency.
Oh my God, that was one of mine.
So yeah, you have to buy all these presents. I've got to do this and I have to do that and all these expectations. So you're not choosing yourself. You're not making decisions that work best for you. So of course you're going to hate them because it's like this dreaded season that's approaching where you have to do all this stuff and you may not be able to like financially afford it. You might not have the time. You may not have the bandwidth.
Yes. The pressure, very often people feel, a lot of moms feel this way. I mean, a lot of people feel this way, but I got to get the right gifts. I got to get a lot of gifts. I got to spend all this money. And then on the other side is, oh my God, I'm spending too much money. Also, the idea in the co-crazy realm is not saying no. You feel obligated. I've had so many patients over the years say, but I have to go to my Aunt Jane's for cake because that's what we do every year. No, you don't have to, okay? You can make choices.
I always host. There's 30 people coming to my house.
Right.
I've always hosted. I must host until the end of times. And you hate it, so you're basically feeding rage food to people. But
the rage
whatever.
cooking.
Rage cooking.
Rage cooking.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are all reasons why people say they hate the holidays. The other couple of things I'm going to say is if you're in recovery, oh my God, I just had a feeling. What happens to me is I sometimes remember these awful things I did when I was using. So one Christmas I totally missed because I had gone to Mary Ann's in Cleveland Circle on Christmas Eve and I drank screwdrivers for the first time. And I literally was in bed the whole Christmas day. And this is when I was like an adolescent. I mean, so very, really bad feelings about that. I never could drink screwdrivers ever again. The other thing is shame. Shame around things I did when I was using. So guilt around behaviors and then shame, like feeling almost worse around like some really kind of shameful behaviors I had around the holidays. So if you're in recovery, sometimes during the holidays, if you're active, you go a little crazy. So, so you might be remembering times like that. So that's another thing. All right. So there's plenty of reasons that people can have I hate the holidays. How are we going to turn it around, Finn?
Well, what I had, the first thing I had was recognize like that you're creating this scenario where you hate the holidays.
Yes.
And usually for me that means I'm telling myself a story.
Yes.
And I'm not feeling my feelings.
Yes.
Or I am feeling like, I have a little grief around the past, and then I tell myself, well, I hate the holidays. I always hated the holidays. And I don't actually just sit and grieve the past.
Right.
So to me, that's like step one. Step two has always been for me to create new traditions.
Yes.
So to just completely go like, all right, this is what I used to do. This is what I'm doing today. And for me, what I found the first way to do that was to go on a trip, right? Do something different, kind of get me really out of the space of the holidays around the people I'm normally with.
Yep.
Or go out to eat, do something different, right? No, nobody's going to host. We're all going to go out to eat.
Yes.
So, and as I'm trying to come up with new traditions and be creative, I looked online, I talked to people, I researched what other people did, and the other thing I would suggest is if this is something you want to try, new traditions, I would suggest that you also keep an open mind that maybe they don't fit. Maybe you do them this year and you say, it wasn't quite what I wanted to do, but keep an open mind to try new things.
Great suggestion. Great suggestion. And also think about what it is that you want instead of focusing on everybody else. And we always say this on this channel. What's going to make you feel good? What do you want to do? And I'm going to give you an example of this. So my son and I love the movies, right? And after my dad passed away and it was no more big family Thanksgivings, he and I have a tradition of going to the movies on Thanksgiving. And that might sound crazy, but we have loved it. So we have a meal together, or we get food, or we do something, and then we end up at a great movie theater watching it. Because a lot of big movies come out on Thanksgiving. So again, it's creating your own traditions that make you happy, not everybody else. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say cut out the expectations.
Yes.
And maybe the first year you're trying to do something completely different. You just like go really outlandish. Something you don't think you'd ever do. You know?
Yes. Yeah. So
just to break out of the mold.
Just breaking out of the mold, trying new things, and really looking at your attitude and your thoughts and feelings. Like Finn was saying, a lot of times I literally believe this, that our bodies, even without our awareness, are having unconscious percolating feelings literally from November through January, just because our systems know that there's a history here.
And I made a conscious decision one year. I do not want to be unhappy.
Yes.
Like, I had to decide that. I had to decide I wasn't going to enter a 3-month period of my life with being miserable. And I had to stop saying, I hate the holidays, I hate the holidays, because that's what I did. I hate the holidays. Oh, I'm miserable this time of year.
Yes.
So, of course, I was going to be. I was saying I was going to be. Now, when I started New Traditions, it didn't mean that I wouldn't think like, oh, my wife had died, or my mom's no longer here, or remember when, so-and-so did this, or I did that. It doesn't mean feelings don't come up, like Sarah was saying. I just try to address them as feelings and not let them interfere with, this is how I'm playing. I'm not going to be miserable because I'm having a feeling. Because it's a feeling. It's not like a permanent state.
It's not a crisis, people. Addicts think feelings are 911s. It's a feeling.
Like a minute ago when you were like, I'm having a feeling. I was going to say, hold the press. We're having a feeling.
Identify, acknowledge, experience, or express. That's our feelings.
And you don't tell yourself a story about
Don't tell yourself the story. All right. So making new traditions. The last couple of things are do something for another person. Like, get out of your own self-centeredness, because again, we can feel like victims, especially if there's been tragedy around holidays or big losses. We can go into self-pity. We can go into, the effing
And
holidays.
if you're one of those people that has been doing stuff for everyone else, don't add another thing to do for someone else, please.
Absolutely. This is just if you're stuck in your own victimhood. Think, how can I get out of myself?
Yeah, call 3 people and ask them how their day's going.
Yes. Because you are not alone. A lot of people struggle with this.
Yeah.
So think of your own list about what is going to give me the least amount of pressure. That's a huge thing for me. I don't want any pressure. I chose Thanksgiving to go to a friend's house. We watched football. It was like so delightful because I made the choice. I didn't feel obligated to do anything. Get rid of the obligations.
And if you have a family or a kid, like a family, a spouse, whatever, friends that you normally spend time with, and you want to change it up,
yes,
meet with them. Say, hey, I would really love to do something different this year. And brainstorm. Kids are really good at brainstorming ideas, fun things to do that are outside the box.
Yes. And just the last thing is really watch the codependency with making up stories about what you believe other people want and need.
Talk to them.
Because so often I've heard this, oh, my, youngest child feels this way because of that, and they want this and they want that. And the kids really, they don't want to go to 8 houses on Christmas, maybe just one. They want much less than you think. So watch out for the co-crazy at Christmas and enjoy it and make decisions that empower you.
Yeah.
Fasten your seatbelt. We're leaving.
Out of here.